Good afternoon and welcome back to the 2021 PGA Championship here at the Ocean Course in Kiawah Island, South Carolina. We are very pleased to be joined by 2013 Masters champion Adam Scott. Adam, welcome back to what is your 21st PGA Championship. So you've been here. You were here in 12 and actually played quite well. Maybe some of your recollections of that week, and maybe how would you describe this golf course to someone who's never been here, or the fans that are tuning into the championship and are trying to bone up on what the challenge is this week?
I remember the week in 12 quite well. I'd actually, I was fresh kind of off a loss or losing the Open Championship. So I remember a strong feeling like I wanted to make up for my mistakes at Lytham and try and put it behind me quickly. And I was very determined here and focused on playing some of the best golf of my career around that time. So I remember it quite well. Friday was a very, very difficult day on the golf course. And I think I shot 75, and I was very pleased with that.
Right.
That was probably better than average. And I just didn't really get the momentum going over the weekend, and obviously Rory did and kind of ran away with it, and he played at a different level than anyone else here that week. His driving was superb and obviously made a lot of putts. For everyone else in the field that week, I think they saw what challenge Kiawah is, and it was a brute of a test in 12, and it will be again this week. I have to say the course is outstanding. The condition and the way it's presented is superb, really. I said earlier in the week it may go down as the best set of greens we ever play on. We'll see how it holds up during the week, but they're rolling so tight, and even with the wind blowing, that the balls are not moving around too much. It feels very good. So I think for the guys who get their eye in this week, there's opportunities for good scores, but the guys who struggle, which is always the way at majors, there are probably big scores going to be on the board.
Okay, let's open up the floor for some questions from Mr. Adam Scott. Oh, I'm sorry, Rex, didn't see you back there. Let's go to number 10, Rex.
Scotty, can you just talk about more to what Rory did here? Do you almost compare it to 2000 and Tiger, where they almost made the golf course look easier than it actually was?
Yeah, it was kind of, Rory was giving off that vibe at the time. If I think back, that was his second major win, and he'd won both majors by 8, I think. That sounds pretty Tiger-esque to me. That was the early Tiger kind of moves, and he did. I mean, it looked free-flowing, and he was driving it much longer than most others, I think, that week, and straight, and rolling putts in. And, when talented guys like a Tiger or a Rory start doing that, it does make the game look easy, even on a really, really tough course.
And you mentioned your 75 on Friday. Can you just talk about how difficult the conditions were?
Yeah, it was just blowing so hard, even though the course was still fairly soft. It was just so difficult to gauge anything. And in no wind, there's enough challenge around this golf course. The consequence of a miss, I mean, there's plenty of room. It's very fair, but the consequence of a miss is huge around here, especially as you get into these outer sandy areas where the lies are very unpredictable, and just getting it back in play is actually sometimes you can't even manage to do that, not just through it being kind of like unkept roughs.
Let's go down to microphone 4.
Adam, we heard some guys this morning talking about how long the closing holes were playing, 14 through 18, having to hit long irons in, and 16 not being able to reach it. Do you think that's a problem, or is that the way golf should be?
It's a problem for us out there playing, for sure. If the wind blows this way for the rest of the week, it's going to be a battle to just get in the clubhouse. One that comes to mind of just surviving was when Jeff Ogilvy won the US Open. He was the only guy to play the last 4 holes in par that day, I believe. And it could be something similar for anybody kind of near the lead. These holes are very, very difficult into this wind. And not just on Sunday, but I think every day the big challenge for the players is it's a little bit like a St Andrews here, where you go in one direction for so long, and then maybe 11 holes you'll play in the same wind direction pretty much, and then you turn around on 14 and play the exact opposite for 5 holes. And that adjustment, I think, is quite difficult to make. So, you know, for me, I'm trying my best to prepare myself on how I, you know, approach that mentally, so I produce some good shots coming in.
Is this the rare golf course that challenges you with distance, or is it just the wind that makes those holes so long?
It's the wind, really. You know, I think it's very fair. There's plenty of room to drive the golf ball for the distances, the holes. It's, you know, it's not 510-yard par 4s with 15-yard wide fairways. There's plenty of room to play, and the greens, it's all very fair, and there's nothing crazy going on. It is a long course, but the wind, you know, when you stand on 16 and it's 608, it's playing like 750, you know, and it's probably numbers that we'll never hopefully see on golf courses, but that's what it's playing like.
We're going to go 11 and then 8. 11, please.
Hi, Scotty.
Hey.
Given the forecast wind, can you see yourself getting around in under 5 hours in the afternoon, or do you think it might be a pretty long day?
I think that's wishful thinking, yeah. I will say, I think as tricky as it's going to be, and just even hitting greens into the wind is going to be difficult. The surface around the greens is so good. Their shots are playable. And, of course, there are going to be some struggles, but I think you're going to see some fantastic short game stuff out there as well, because the greens are in a nice spot where they're not bone dry and they're receiving a well-struck shot. And the areas around the greens are prepared in so nicely that you have options. You can play the lofted shot, you can play it along the ground. I think hopefully well, from myself, I'd like to see some creativity and a nice short game this week, because no doubt around the greens when it's windy is going to be key.
Let's go to Bill on number 8.
Adam, how are you handling the logistics and mental preparation of playing 4 majors in 4 consecutive months?
I think we're getting used to it now. It is an interesting schedule. It's slightly condensed from where we were, but you know, I think it was more about getting your mind into the 4 months. You know, what are you going to do for the whole 4 months? And that's a long period of time to think you're going to peak for. But you just kind of need to get on a roll and get yourself ready come the Masters, and then kind of manage your energy output so that each month you're ready to go and put in. And, you know, I've always been a big advocate of preparing properly for majors, which is kind of a 2-week process before the tournament. So it doesn't leave me a lot of time to play other events and things in between. I obviously haven't got it dialed in because I haven't won one since we've gone to this schedule, but you know, I look at it as a huge opportunity, and I think, you know, seeing what Brooks has done from this schedule of winning a couple really quick succession, or 4 in quick time, is what's possible if you can get on a roll.
Thanks.
Adam, let's zoom out to Steve. Steve, you are with Adam. Go ahead, sir.
Adam, I was hoping you could talk about one hole in particular, the 17th. How difficult is it, and how challenging is it, and what clubs have you hit into that hole?
Yeah, I mean, 17 is the ultimate test of nerve, really. It doesn't matter when you're playing it, if it's, you know, 3 weeks ago or this Sunday coming down the stretch, it's a long par 3 over water. I mean, I don't know how holes get more difficult than that, and now at the moment it's straight into the wind, and I've been hitting 4 irons and 7 woods, and briefly discussed hitting a soft 3 wood in, and to see how that feels. I think if it is into the wind, you're going to see guys wearing out the left side, whatever's up there. There are some bunkers, and then I think we could see guys going even further left. It's not great, but it's a lot better than the water. It could be a decider for the whole event this week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're going to go to number 7 here.
Hey Adam, I'm just curious, how easy is it for your tempo to get disrupted in high wind conditions like this, and what do you do to try to prevent that from happening?
Yeah, it is. It's very easily put off rhythm. Some experience comes into play. I mean, like I said, you have to make adjustments on the fly out there, and that's not easy to do, and I think that's where experience helps. But when you're going one direction for 2.5 or 3 hours, and then you turn around and your last hour and a half is the exact opposite of what you've been doing, I mean, that's a big adjustment to make when you don't get a couple shots on the side to get ready for that. The next shot counts, and it's a 240-yard par 3, So really, spending as little time in the wind practicing, although you do need to do a little bit of it. I'm not hitting a lot of balls on the range. I don't want to stand there and spend an hour, leaning on my left side trying to keep the ball under the wind, because it's not the only shot I've got to hit this week. So trying not to get stuck on one thing, and obvious things like trying to swing easy when breezy and all that kind of cliche stuff does count for something. I just don't want to get trapped and not be free. You want to stay free, and I think if you think of great rhythmical swingers, they've played nicely in the wind, they've controlled their flight, and that's what it's going to be a big advantage if you can do it out here. You hit a few extra greens this week, a little stress-free pars look good with the wind blowing like this right now.
Rex on 10.
Scotty, this is a little off topic, and I know you've been asked about the Super League or PGA, whatever it's called right now, but has your opinion changed as it's gotten back into the news, as far as would it be something you were interested in?
Well, yeah, I mean, generally, as an international player, I'm interested in the game being strong on a global basis, and I'm interested in that. I'm not really up to speed with where everything is at the moment, and I think now with where it's at, it's been floating around in the public kind of domain for the last 12 months or so, on and off, and these things will just sort themselves out now. All the big players in the game seem to be involved, so that's where it's at. It'll get sorted out amongst the people who make all the decisions.
Okay, let's zoom out to Bernie. Bernie McGuire with us. Unmute yourself, Bernie, and you are up with Adam.
Adam, hi. Good to see you.
Hey, Bernie. I can't see you.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, you're lucky. Just your thoughts on using the rangefinder this week. Will you use it a lot, or maybe when you're uncertain? And as a Masters champion, can you see Augusta National letting you guys use a rangefinder during the course of the tournament?
I really haven't thought about it. I don't intend on using it. I'd be surprised if John uses the rangefinder, but we'll see. I really don't know what guys are going to do this week. I think if the book says one thing and the rangefinder says another thing, which one should you go with? So I think you've got to go with one or the other, and unless John's changed all his routines in the last couple of weeks to use the rangefinder, I think we'll be out the book. And as for, I don't know, I mean, it's all speculation. If it's successful here, then maybe that's the way pro golf will go, and then one day the Masters might, but I'm not sure.
Do you class yourself as a traditionalist or not?
I think I love all the elements of golf, whether that's traditional and whatever's coming. I'm passionate about the game, and I admire pioneers, and I admire the fact the PGA is trying something a little different for pro golf this week.
Okay, wish you well this week, Adam. Thanks.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you, Bernie. We are going to zoom again out and join up with Mark. Mark, you are up with Adam. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Adam, with the those last 14 through 18 seemingly going to be into the wind, at least for the first couple rounds, are you looking forward to getting them out of the way by starting on 10 the first round, or kind of finishing up with them in the second round? Which one do you think is going to be more advantageous for you, or not at all?
Yeah, no. It sounded good getting it out of the way in the first round, but realizing I have to actually play them then on Friday afternoon took the gloss off that thought. Just a tough set of holes. I think at any major championship, there's always going to be the question asked of you, and the guys who contend, and ultimately the winner, he's going to have to step up and hit the shots. And I think it's a good opportunity. I mean, if you can manage yourself on those 5 holes, there's a good opportunity to make up a lot of ground or separate yourself playing them in just a nice score. I mean, if you offered me even par on these holes for the rest of the week, I think everyone would line up and take it.
Adam, last question. Curious what a veteran player like you who was here in 12 can take with him and 9 years later show up in the same spot. Does that familiarity help, or is that a lot of conjecture, that people in this interview room ask about? I mean, do you remember things? Do you remember greens? Do you remember fairways? I mean, what do you remember 9 years later?
It's not really the sort of course that there are hidden secrets that I gained out of 12, but just generally, I think when you talk about this kind of time period and veteran, I mean, the experience of just playing so many tough events and just having a good understanding of, the patience that's required, the knowing ahead of time the tests that you're going to face. I know there's going to be situations this week that are not ideal for me, and I'm just going to have to, do my best to get out of it and turn it around. I think they're the kind of things that, of course, I played 4 rounds here 9 years ago, and I played quite nicely. That's a nice memory for me, but I think just the accumulation of the experience when the conditions get tough. I remember watching guys who I thought were a bit old when, 15 years ago and stuff, and just how calmly they played in these tough conditions and just managed to hold it together and not shoot a bad score and not shoot themselves out of the tournament. And I think that's a big thing that I look at when I stand here, and you just look at the flags blowing and know how difficult it is out there, that I've got the experience to kind of hold it all together when it gets tough out there.
Okay, Juan wants to end it right here.
So in connection with that, and I think it's interesting, what the memories is more like mental memories, is the feelings of playing at those difficult conditions. And then how do you prepare yourself for this week? I mean, what do you think you're going to be feeling this week? And how do you block it and you calm yourself down? No? So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel, when I left the Masters, I kind of reassessed where everything was at, and I said I wasn't going to play another tournament until I was fully prepared to play. I was not happy with, my first couple of months of the year. I was just like spinning the wheels. I felt like I wasn't getting better, and I want to now get better as the rest of the season goes. So I feel very prepared for this week, and I have memories of playing this hard course and many other hard courses in majors, and I think drawing on that experience is a calming thing. I feel like I've prepared as best I can away from this week, and I've played 4 practice rounds already. I didn't play today, and I feel like I know the course well enough now, and final little feel tomorrow, hit a few balls and play 9 holes, and I feel like I'm in that calm place to deal with whatever happens out there. If I go out and birdie the first 3, I know it's my day and I can calmly keep going in that way. And if I go out and I'm 4 over through 9 and it feels like the wheels are going to fall off, I know I have time to get things under control, and that's kind of how I operate.
Terrific, Adam. Thanks so much for the perspective, but more so the time. Thanks for visiting.
Thank you.
And have a terrific week.
Yeah, thank you very much.